Your answer.
Well, you know, to prepare for this debate, I rode in the bumper cars at the state fair. It works terrifically. But, George, I don't actually see that much difference or people criticizing me on the substance of my positions. I think that there's been some political maneuvering taking place over the last couple of weeks. I do think that there's a substantive difference between myself and Senator Clinton when it comes to meeting with our adversaries. I think that strong countries and strong presidents meet and talk with our adversaries. We shouldn't be afraid to do so. We tried the other way. It didn't work. I think that if we have Osama bin Laden in our sights and we've exhausted all other options, we should take him out before he plans to kill another 3,000 Americans. I think that's common sense. So there's one other thing that I believe, and that is that we should describe for the American people, both in presidential debates as well as president, what our foreign policy is and what we're going to do. We shouldn't have strategic ambiguity with the American people when it comes to describing how we're going to deal with the most serious national security issues that we face. And it is my belief that we need a fundamental change if we're going to dig ourselves out of the hole that George Bush has placed us in. And that's going to require the kind of aggressive diplomacy, preparation, yes, but the aggressive diplomacy, the personal diplomacy of the next president to transform how the world sees us. That is ultimately going to make us safer.
Senator Clinton, one of the areas that, one of the things that Senator Obama just talked about is that he thinks that some of your differences aren't as great as people have said. Your campaign criticized Senator Obama after he made a comment ruling out the use of nuclear weapons against al-Qaeda. Yet here's what you said last year when asked about Bush administration reports that they might use tactical nuclear weapons in Iran. Take a look.
No option should be off the table, but I would certainly take nuclear weapons off the table. And this administration has been very willing to talk about using nuclear weapons in a way we haven't seen since the dawn of the nuclear age. I think that's a terrible mistake.
So Senator Obama rules out using them against al-Qaeda. You rule out using them against Iran. What's the principal difference there?
Well, George, you've got to put it into context. I was asked specifically about what was very clearly an effort by the Bush-Cheney administration to drum up support for military action against Iran. Combine that with their continuing effort to try to get what are called bunker buster bombs, nuclear bombs that could penetrate into the earth to go after deeply buried nuclear sites. And I thought it was very important. This was not a hypothetical. This was a brushback against this administration, which has been reckless and provocative to America's damage, in my opinion. So I think there's a big difference. And I think it's a difference that really goes to the heart of whether we should be using hypotheticals. I mean, one thing that I agree with is we shouldn't use hypotheticals. You know, words do matter. And this campaign, just like every other thing that happens in the United States, is looked at and followed with very great interest. And, you know, Pakistan is on a knife's edge. It is easily, unfortunately, a target for the jihadists. And therefore, you've got to be very careful about what it is you say with respect to Pakistan.
Do you accept that distinction?
There was no difference. It is not hypothetical that al-Qaeda has established base camps in the hills between Afghanistan and Pakistan. That was acknowledged in the national intelligence estimates, and every foreign policy expert understands that. No military expert would advise that we use nuclear weapons to deal with them, but we do have to deal with that problem. And so this is part of what I think Americans get frustrated about in politics, where we have gamesmanship and we manufacture issues and controversies instead of talking about the serious problem that we have, a problem that this administration has made worse and that our invasion of Iraq has made worse, but a problem that the next president is going to have to deal with, and the American people deserve to hear what we're going to do.
Senator Edwards, is there a difference or not?
How about a little hope and optimism? Where did it go? You know, I listened to this debate, and this is what I hear. First of all, I think we have a clear path for America and for our friends on Iran, which Senator Clinton just spoke about. And that path is to work with our friends in Europe to put a choice between carrots and sticks on the table for the Iranian people. because there is a division between the Iranian people and their radical leader, Ahmadinejad. There's no question about that. We can take advantage of that. We should take advantage of that and drive a wedge between the two. In the case of Pakistan, the truth of the matter is Musharraf is not a wonderful leader, but he provides some stability in Pakistan. And there is a great risk, if he's overthrown, about a radical government taking over. They have a nuclear weapon. They're in constant tension with India, which also has a nuclear weapon, over Kashmir. I mean, it is a dangerous, volatile situation. But the last thing I want to say about this is it's not shocking that, first of all, I think Senator Obama is entitled to express his view. And it's not shocking that people who've been in Washington a long time criticize him when he comes along and expresses his view. I think his view adds something to this debate, and I think he ought to be able to express it.
But is he right or wrong?
Oh, on which issue?
The one I just asked. Was there a difference between Senator Clinton and Senator Obama on this issue?
I personally think, and I would as president, not talk about hypotheticals and nuclear weapons. I think that's not a healthy thing to do. I think what it does for the President of the United States is it effectively limits your options. And I do not want to limit my options, and I don't want to talk about hypothetical use of nuclear weapons. I would add to that I think what the President of the United States should actually do, beyond stopping bunker buster nuclear weapons, which this administration is moving forward with, is what America should do, and what I would do as president, is to actually lead an international effort over time to eliminate nuclear weapons from the planet. That's the way to make the planet more secure.
Senator Pavel, then Governor Richardson.
That's very good, but under the last 25 years, this nation has continued to expand its nuclear capability. I would say that essentially they're all wrong on this. They're sort of leading up. The administration is cooking the books, the intelligence on Iran. And we're playing into this, and I'm very concerned. I would hope that Congress would pass a resolution saying, no, under no circumstances do you invade Iran. Stop and think, what have they done to us? They're giving us intelligence saying that they're destroying our troops. Well, what about our trying to destabilize their government, which we've been doing for the last 25 years? We destroyed their democracy, and now we're looking at them as an excuse to expand the war, which is the plan the neocons had back in 1997. And so when Democrats buy into the problem of Iran, they just help Vice President Cheney, who should be committed with his recent statement.
You know, when a president talks about foreign policy, a president has to be clear. And this talk about hypotheticals, I think, is what's gotten us in trouble. Here's what I would do on nuclear weapons. I wouldn't, as an American president, use nuclear weapons first. However, you can never take the military option off the table. The key is that in our foreign policy today, this administration has used the military option, preemption. It should be diplomacy first, negotiation. Build international support for our goals. Find ways that America can get allies in our fight against terrorism, against nuclear proliferation. We should have a treaty on fissionable material, loose nuclear weapons. That's even more dangerous today than nuclear weapons.
Let me